minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Central Texas viewers, and thank you for joining us. Welcome in on this day of remembrance. I'm Chris Radcliffe.
And I'm Leslie Draffin. 10 years ago today, a man started shooting in the Soldier Readiness Center on Fort Hood, killing 14 people, including an unborn child.
It is certainly one of the darkest days in Central Texas history. Along with those 14 killed, 31 others were wounded in that shooting, and dozens of others will be forever affected. Today, a ceremony is being held at the Fort Hood Memorial to remember those who lost their lives that day. And we take you out there live now to that service, which is already in progress. We'll join you at the conclusion.
Today's program. On behalf of event organizers, thank you for attending the 10th anniversary Remembrance. Please stand for the Killeen Police Department Honor Guard and the posting of the colors. Thank you. Please be seated. A special welcome at this time to the family members of the fallen and the wounded who are with us today. Today we pay tribute to our fallen brothers and sisters, remembering them for their sacrifice to our nation and for the personal attributes that make each of them so very dear and special to us. And And thank you to District 31 Congressman John Carter for joining us and for the tremendous role that you played in this project, securing the just recognition for those who gave their all. And thank you to District 25 Congressman Roger Williams for being with us and for your long-standing support of Fort Hood and our soldiers. We would also like to recognize House 54 Representative Brad Buckley and House Representative 55 Hugh Shine for being with us today. 2, we would like to welcome Major General Scott Eflin and Command Sergeant Major Adam Nash. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service to our country and for the visionary leadership at Fort Hood. And also joining us here in the front row, Ms. Cohn, wife of the late General Cohn. Ms. Camper, thank you for joining us. Troy Kelly, Mark Todd, Mayor Segarra, and our 10th Anniversary Remembrance Committee Chair, Councilwoman Nash King, and certainly Mr. Gandy of the Killeen Daily Herald. At this time, I'd like to introduce Killeen Mayor Jose Segarra, who has words to share on behalf of the city of Killeen.
All right, thank you. And first, before I start, I just want to recognize a couple of our council members. We have Mrs. Nash King, who's here, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Menking. So Congressman Carter, Congressman Williams, distinguished guests, family members and survivors, and all our community leaders, on behalf of the city of Killeen, I want to welcome you and everyone and thank you for taking the time to honor and remember the 13 lives that were lost on that tragic day 10 years ago today. Today we stand at this great memorial not only to remember those that lost their lives, but also as a tribute to who and what they represented. For they represented those that were willing to serve our nation in one way or another, so that communities like ours can enjoy the freedoms that we live by and enjoy every day. It is a testament to their courage that no matter what others may try to do, they will never take away the freedoms that are represented in communities like ours and all over this great country. So thanks to the great men and women like those that we remember here today, for this memorial is a true representation of what America is all about. The lives enshrined here at this great place remind us every day that we truly live in the land of the free because of the great and brave souls here. Thank you again for being here, and God bless you and all that serve, and God bless our communities and everyone that lives in this great country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Segarra. Next, I invite Pastor Mark Price to lead us in prayer.
So would you bow your heads with me, please? Father, we thank you for this day. Your word says that this is the day that you've made, and we can choose to rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we do pray for the families and friends that are here to remember the fallen. I pray, Father, that you continue to bless them with strength and peace. Your word tells us to honor those that are due honor. And Father, that's what we are here for today, to honor the fallen and to always remember them. So God, we ask that we would feel the presence of your Holy Spirit throughout all of this gathering. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Price. Next, Killeen City Councilwoman Debbie Nash King will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for the pledge.
Before we honor our nation flag, I would like to recognize the committee chair for 2019, former Mayor Timothy Hancock, and former Mayor, City of Killeen, Fred Lathan. Thank you for all you have done for us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce a gentleman who was such an advocate and positive force in the construction and completion of the Fort Hood November 5th, 2009 memorial. Former Killeen Mayor Timothy Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Vanacek. It is an honor for me to be here today. I am so thankful to see the family members that have come such a long way to observe and memorialize their loss. I would also let you know that my purpose for being here, I have been asked many times, how did I feel being on Fort Hood at the time that this incident happened? We just happened to be in a classroom for a class that was graduating from college. And we were then told we could not leave, even though the commencement was over. I've been asked, I don't know how many times, how did I feel? I am a retired Command Sergeant Major with 29 plus years in the military. To be in that position when this happened, there is no telling how many and different feelings I went through. I was afraid, I was concerned, and I could not understand how something was going on Fort Hood. After it was all over, I go back, and in 2010, the SPJST under Mr. Vanacek and his staff approached the city council in hopes of building a standing memorial for those that did not survive. We agreed to do that. We agreed to do what we could to build the memorial. It was to be built totally on volunteers that would give their monies to build this memorial. Little did we know, the committee, little did we know what was going to go into this memorial and how were we going to do it strictly on donations. But over the years, it took us longer than we had planned, but we were able to do and complete the memorial as you see it. We worked with the architect and the sculptor, Mr. Kelly, and we spoke with him quite often about what we really needed to do. Now, the committee were really in favor of getting it done. But you know, a project this size that costs this much is not easy for anyone to undertake. But the committee accepted the challenge to do just that, which now means that we needed developers, contractors, and all the people that would and want to give us support in kind. And that's what happened. We got much support in kind. A few years into building it, it took us longer than we anticipated. We were then faced with slowdowns in donations. And we were fortunate to have on our committee a developer named Don Ferrick and a builder named Don Ferrick. He then was able to go and speak with all of the people in this community that could help us. Even later on, when things terribly slow, former Mayor Latham and I made arrangements to meet with Killeen, Daily Herald, Mr. Gandy, because we was at a stalemate as to what direction we should take. We met with Mr. Gandy. He advised us. We took that advice and put it into action, and we moved forward. Long about the end, everything was done, but we didn't have a roof. Now, what kind of building are we going to have with no roof? So then we contacted one of our favorite congressmen, Congressman Carter. And it's my understanding, I have no idea how he accomplished this, but it's my understanding he made a phone call. And all of a sudden, the metal roof that you see on the memorial was accomplished from that phone call. So I want to thank all of the donors, every living person that donated, and many of the donations came from out of state. You see, yes, I can be called a sympathy person, the way you want to call, but you realize that the family members that are here today represent states, cities that's not in Central Texas. And we thank you all for your donations. We thank you for what you were doing. Now, our goal was to build a facility off post where that if you happen to come through visiting somewhere else and wanted to stop by and memorialize your relative, you could do just that. We wanted you to know that we would not forget, and we hope that you understand that we have not forgotten. It's one other thing, person I'd like to introduce. This is the individual that was the person that finally stopped the slaughter. And I'd like for Mr. Mark Todd, retired, to just please stand, and we recognize him. Thank you, Mr. Todd. And now, I'm going to turn it back over to the new committee chair that volunteered without knowing she was volunteering, Miss Councilwoman Debbie Nash King. You have the committee. It is all yours. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for a moment of silence and reflection in memory of our departed brothers and sisters who were taken from us on November 5th, 2009. Thank you. Please be seated. On the the afternoon of November 5th, 2009, 13 Americans were sacrificed for their country, not on the distant soils of Iraq or Afghanistan, but here on American soil at Fort Hood, Texas. The victims, including the 31 wounded, were mainly men and women who were preparing to deploy to battle zones or who had recently returned from them. Thanks to the heroic intervention of two Fort Hood police officers, Kimberly Munley and Mark Todd, the rampage was brought to an end. In the aftermath of the tragic November 5th shooting, memorial services were held to pay tribute to those who had died and to remember those who had been injured. From that initial outpouring of emotion and out of the desire to honor and remember the victims of that tragic event, came the concept of establishing a permanent, public, and living memorial. The idea to build the memorial to honor the lives of those who were taken and those whose lives were forever changed was conceived by Vietnam veteran and SPGST Fraternal Life Insurance employee Hiram Dixon, who is with us today. The original idea for the memorial was for a simple gazebo and a garden encircled by 13 trees to honor the victims. The memorial would be a place to remember and a place to deliver a message for the generations to come that we must remain ever vigilant in fighting terrorism. It was in the early stages of planning that the memorial that Salado artist and sculptor Troy Kelly stepped forward to enhance our plan for a simple gazebo and garden with his incredibly personal and moving concept for the memorial. A Vietnam veteran himself, Troy's concept was a work of art. You'll hear from Troy in just a moment. Throughout the spring and summer months of 2010, considerable efforts were made by a committee designated by then Mayor Timothy Hancock to determine the exact name, location, design, and budget for the project. An unveiling ceremony of the project design was held on this site, November 5th, 2010, for the communities and the families of the loved ones. For the next 5 years, as Mr. Mayor shared with us, the Fort Hood Memorial Committee toiled to get the project built. SPGST, its lodges, and its members were honored to support such a project. Even so, a monumental project such as this carries with it monumental costs, and this is where the Fort Hood Memorial Committee, again, under devoted leadership of Mayor Hancock and Fred Latham, really came through, rallying the support of the community, contributors, and contractors in order to get the project completed. Family members of the fallen, most notably Jolene Cahill, wife of Chief Warrant Officer Michael Cahill, were such an inspirational and instrumental part of that core group, which ultimately succeeded in its mission. Special thanks also to KCEN Television and certainly to the Killeen Daily Herald for their wonderful and ongoing support. Groundbreaking for the memorial took place on July 24th, 2015. Esteemed guests at that event included survivors of the shooting, families of those who were taken from us, and first responders. The dedication of the memorial and the presentation of Texas Purple Hearts by Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Major General John Nichols took place on March 11, 2016. May we always remember what this memorial stands for: a place of solemn remembrance and contemplation, paying dutiful respect to those who gave their all. May God bless you all, and may God bless the United States of America. Now, it is my honor to introduce sculptor Troy Kelly, whose vision transformed a simple idea into a magnificent memorial. Troy?
Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you to all the committee members over the years. Thank you for all the hard work. particularly thank you to the families and the wounded and of the fallen. I want to throw a special thanks out to Miss Vicki Kelly. She keeps me straight day in and day out. Where are you, Vicki? I'm going to give a speech that I've given before, but it's important for you as you view this memorial to understand some of the symbolism that is encompassed in the memorial. On the donor column, you see an eagle. The title of it is Eagle of the Republic. His feathers are ruffled, and he's rising up out of a nest of 50 arrowheads or 50 olive branches. You take your choice, whichever one you want. Each one represents a state, 50. As you proceed into the memorial, on the sidewalk, just before you enter, is a brick that's inlaid in the sidewalk. Miss Jolene Cahill retrieved it from the building as they were tearing down where the event happened. As you go inside, you encounter a black granite triangled pyramid. Excuse me. Got it. The pyramid has a flagpole that rises 60 feet up. The flag continues to fly 24 hours a day. It's lit by 4 lights that are oriented north, south, east, and west, representing the 4 corners of America. Around the outside edge of the memorial are 13 black granite columns for the 14th people that were killed during this event. Now you notice I said 14 rather than 13 because there was an unborn baby that was Miss Francesca Velez was pregnant. During the testimony of many of the victims during the trial, several of them said that Francesca's last words were, "My baby, my baby." I got through that one again. On each one of the columns are objects that are bronze that were submitted by the family as being the favorite object of each one of the individuals. On the first surface of the columns is a portrait of the individual and a favorite saying of the family or of the person. The images are arranged in a circle. A circle is one of the oldest images in the world. They sat in a circle around a campfire. Stonehenge is another circle. They've talked often about the funds that were required to build this. I could see early that it was going to take quite a bit. So Vicki and I both donated our time and energy to the construction of this and therefore diverting all the funds into the building of it. Thank you all again for being here. I love you. This was a labor of love to each and every one of you. So God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you, Troy. At this time, we turn the program over to the fallen soldiers' families, and we will request that a family member step forward when we call the name, and you can offer your tribute at that time. For those family members who are not coming up, I'll go ahead and share a tribute in their place. We begin with Chief Warrant Officer, retired, Michael G. Cahill.
I'm going to read what we wrote
It kind of sums up my dad as much as you can. For those of you who know him, you know what I meant. So, Mike Cahill was often referred to as a walking encyclopedia. Mike was witty and humorous and an avid reader, political junkie, history buff, traveler, and collector of all things interesting. Of course, he was also stubborn, impatient at times, a smoker, coffee addict. Thanks, Dad, I got that from you. Rejected all vegetables except pizza sauce and the potato, the proper Irish man he was, and avoided paperwork with determination rivaling Alexander the Great. But above all, he was a great listener. Mike, or Doc Cahill as he was known, was a gifted and compassionate PA. He listened with sincerity, truly heard and understood his patients and soldiers. His integrity allowed him to do what was best and right and not always popular. His drive to fix things got him in trouble at times. As all good historians know, when good men do nothing, evil reigns. Dad could never do nothing. He was a man who acted the same on November 5th as he did in the rest of his life, without hesitation, with purpose, and with honor. Family was a central figure in his life, and when his children complained, he would respond with the simple, "It builds character, kid. We hope we have as much as him." Mike fought many battles in his life, and his last battle may have taken his, but it left a stronger spirit. We would like to finish this by saying we're proud to have been a part of his life, and I'm going to leave you with a favorite from Mike's of Henry V's St. Crispin's Day speech. "By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I doth feed upon my cost. It earns me not if men my garments wear. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive."
Thank you. Next, a representative for Major L. Eduardo Carvalho.
As part of his unit, I am very proud to stand here for his family. A legacy of love. As life goes on, we learn the meaning of true love. Some people may never know it, but how blessed have I been to have known it through you. Thank you for your unconditional love for me and for our children. True love endures forever and ever. When our Lord called you to his side, it was hard to understand. I sat alone with a broken heart, only to realize later that you are not dead, but more alive. The smile on your face, no one can erase. I won't forget your helping hands, nor the kindness of your heart. I see you in the sun, feel the warmth of your love. I feel you in the summer rains, hear the singing with the birds, feel you in the blooming of the spring, in the falling of the leaves and the cold winter breeze. Now, you don't have to imagine what your eyes will see after seeing the face of God. As you have reached eternal bliss, as you watch us from above, ask the Lord to bless us all until the day we get to go to join the angels in their song. Your wife, Angela. Dad, we remember you as a nice, athletic, and positive person who women thought of as handsome, and charming. Just to joke around, you would say gibberish like, "Give me 10-4, give me a 10-20, or "I am who I am because I am." Do you understand the things that need to be understood? You always made us laugh. You will always remember your love for family and your perseverance to accomplish what you wanted. You are alive in our hearts and always will be. You were a great dad. Your sons, Eddie, Jose, and John Paul. You cradled me when I was upset on your very special day, and I sat there wiggling all my toes. You said, "It will be okay." I didn't want to listen then. Instead, I sat there and cried until you swept me off my feet and danced with me all night. We miss you, Daddy. Your daughters, Tiffany and Megan.
Thank you. Staff Sergeant Justin M. DeCrow. I'll share with you the inscription from the tribute, which was submitted by his family. My family, my friends, don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God laid for me. I took his hand when I heard him call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work, or play. Task left undone must stay that way. I found that place at the close of the day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss. Ah, yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full. I savored much. Good friends, good times, a mother's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now. He set me free. Next, I'd like to call up a representative of the family of Captain John P. Gaffney.
Welcome and thank you all for attending. I'm going to read something that my sister-in-law picked out to put on the pillar for my husband, Captain John Gaffney. Who among us, mortal men, are you, good friend? Since never before have I seen you in the fighting, where men win glory, yet now you have come striding far out in front of all the others in your great heart.
Thank you. Specialist Frederick Z. Green. I'll read from the inscription. This is actually a passage from Gandalf to Pippin by J.R.R. Tolkien. The journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one that we must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass. And when you see it, white shores and beyond, a far greener country under a swift sunrise. Next, I'd like to call forward a representative of the family of Specialist Jason Dean Hunt.
Jason Dean Hunt, known as JD by those close to him, had a great appreciation for loyal companions, whether it was his friends, family, brothers in arms, or his beloved dog, Rex. He grew up on his family's Greyhound farm in rural Oklahoma. He was an avid gamer and mastered anything that required strategy, and always stressed the importance to detail. While proudly explaining his job as a driver in the infantry to his grandmother, she said, "So you drive tanks?" He replied, "It's not a tank, Grandma, it's a Bradley." He had a tenderness for all living things, but also had a passion for heavy metal music and would sign his letters from Iraq to his sister, "Metal never dies." His mother said his idea of his first deployment to Iraq was to save lives and protect his fellow soldiers, not to hurt people. JD was a soft-spoken, yet strong and caring young man. We included a poem, a Native American poem, that was our grandmother's favorite. "Do not go to my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. Do not go to my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die."
Thank you. Now a representative from the family of Staff Sergeant Amy S. Kruger.
I'm going to read a poem that was written by my aunt for my beloved cousin Amy Kruger. It's called Amy's Poem. "I loved life, you took that from me, but you can't take my legacy. You didn't touch that, Nidal Hassan. My legacy will forever live on. You see, I touched a lot of people when I was alive. I touched them so that they would survive. With or without me, that was my goal. You may have taken my life, but you didn't touch my soul. Your days are numbered, mine have just begun. Now I'm a watchful angel to those you took me from. Always remember, my dear family and friends, you will see me again, please be assured. Our souls will mingle, our voices will be heard. It's never goodbye, it's see you later."
Thank you. And now a representative from the family of PFC Aaron T. Nemelka.
I'm going to read a poem written by Alyssa Lattenberg. She was Aaron's cousin, but they were more like twins. When they were together, they were inseparable. And she put into words what we couldn't. And she called it Twit and Lips. "I wish I knew how to get through this, but tragedy strikes with a long and lingering kiss. My thoughts are never clear. They are in a place of darkness and fear, searching for something I have yet to see, hoping somehow it will save me. My strength seems to be gone, 'cause everything has all gone wrong. The whisper of darkness is growing near. I only wish that, Aaron, you were here. But he was taken from me at Fort Hood. He died in a way that nobody should. He was 19 and full of life. He lost his dreams that cuts me like a knife. Without him, in my world has faded. He died it feels as though I've been sedated. People think that I'm doing fine, but I've been screaming inside all this time. How could God take him? It was the other man that chose to sin. I know I should escape the darkness, but it is there, and where I feel his closeness. It's all that Aaron is by my side, my partner in crime for the ride. At least I know he got his wings. He always wanted those damn things. I know that he'll always be watching, taking his part in everything we do. He was the best twit a lip could ask for. By taking him with me, I can truly soar. I'll be working hard to make him proud, so he can hoot and holler from his very own cloud. We will be together again, and that is when our journey will truly begin. We were always destined to be forever friends, him and me. Thanks.
Thank you. PFC Michael S. Pearson. The inscription reads, I look only to the future for wisdom, to rock back and forth in my wooden chair, grow out the beard of the earth and play my experience through sound, not always pleasant, but just as important. For each note must represent my love, pain, and experience. Everyone has a place in my story, and someday I'll play a tune that represents you and the role that you played in my life. Michael Pearson. Next. A representative of the family of Captain Russell G. Seeger.
Before I read what the family had to say, knowing him, he was a man of very few words. He worked at the VA hospital in Madison, Wisconsin, and always had kindness for everyone. So it doesn't surprise me that the family had a very short verse from the Bible. This is from 2 Timothy 4, verse 7. I have fought the good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith.
Thank you. A representative now from the family of PFC, Francesca Velez.
Good afternoon. Today I'm going to read something her parents wrote for her, and as well as something her cousin wrote for her. For Dad, you will always be his little girl. For Mom, a star that shines from the sky. Because those were God's divine intentions, even from far away, you will always be Daddy's little girl and Mommy's shiny star. You will always live in our hearts, beloved Francesca, grandson or granddaughter. Francesca Velez, she was, without a doubt, a true loving, caring, forgiving, one-of-a-kind, outstanding human being. Not a day goes by we don't remember and miss her. A young heart stopped beating, a beautiful soul laid to rest. God broke our hearts to prove he only takes the best. What a life to take, what a bond to break. We will be missing you. The earth lost a soldier, but our heavens gained a warrior. Life will never be the same without you. We will love and miss you in our hearts forever.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize a representative from the family of Lieutenant Colonel Juanita L. Warman.
Who was Colonel Warman? She was a strong and resolute soldier. Look at her record. Ask the Army and those who served with her. Speak to her patients who missed her care and cherished the peace she gave them. She was a gentle and effective healer. She was a wonderful mother and grandmother. Ask her family who yearned for her return. Ask her husband what has become of the joyful love of his life and the other half of his soul. Here I am, send me, she said with her comrades bravely, met the enemy here at home. Her mark left clearly on the world and all those who knew her. Philip Warman.
Now, a representative from the family of PFC, Kam S. Zhang.
I will read what I wrote for the inscription on the pillar. It's titled Last Letter. How much I long to see you. Not a day goes by that I don't think of you. When I close my eyes, I see your face. Your face I will never forget. At night, I go to sleep missing you, wishing you were lying next to me. I dream of you every now and then. It feels so real, like you're really there. But when I wake up, it fades away. And here goes another long day. Wishing I can sleep forever, the only way I can be with you. Moving on is hard without you, especially for our kids. Growing up without their father there by their side, we can only imagine, what if you were still here? Trying to keep the memories of you alive, but it hurts so much when I think of you. When I feel like I'm moving on okay, something always reminds me of you. It breaks me down again and back to square one. I will always love you, no matter what I do. Although we are not together physically, spiritually, we are. And until the day we meet again, you're in a special place in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll present the names again of our fallen brothers and sisters. I request that you please rise and remain standing through the playing of taps. Chief Warrant Officer, retired, Michael G. Cahill. Major L. Eduardo Carabello. Staff Sergeant Justin M. DeCrow. Captain John P. Gaffney. Specialist Frederick Z. Green. Specialist Jason Dean Hunt. Staff Sergeant Amy S. Kruger. PFC Aaron T. Nemelka. PFC Michael S. Pearson. Captain Russell F. G. Seeger. PFC Francesca Velez. Lieutenant Colonel Juanita L. Warman. PFC, Kam S. Zhang. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to call up Colonel Retired Michael Mulligan, who will present the names of those wounded on November 5th, 2009.
Major Randy Royer, Specialist Kira Torkelson, Captain Dorothy Karskadden, Specialist Logan Burnett, Second Lieutenant Brandy Mason, Specialist Matthew Cook, Chief Warrant Officer Second Christopher Royal, Staff Sergeant Michael Davis, Staff Sergeant Alvin Howard, Staff Sergeant Eric Jackson, Staff Sergeant Sean Manning, Staff Sergeant Paul Martin, Staff Sergeant Joy Clark, Staff Sergeant Dwan Wynn, Staff Sergeant Miguel Valdivia, Staff Sergeant Patrick Ziegler Jr., Sergeant Alonzo Lunsford Jr., Corporal Nathan Hewitt, Specialist Dana Roscoe, Specialist Grant Moxon, Specialist John Pagel, Private First Class James Armstrong, Private First Class Mick Egnell, Private First Class Justin Johnson, Private First Class Jonathan Sims, Private First Class George Stratton III, Private Alan Carroll, Private Joseph Foster, Private Najee Hull, Private Amber Gadlin, and DA Police Officer Sergeant Kimberly Munley.
Thank you, Colonel Mulligan. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, all of you, for being here today and for coming together for this tribute. Please join me, if you will, in singing God Bless America, and remain standing for the retiring of the colors. And please know that the song is printed on the back of your program. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And thank you for joining us. You are watching the retiring of the colors at the Fort Hood Remembrance Ceremony. It was 10 years ago today that a gunman opened fire. And for the past hour, we've been looking in at the remembrance of today's activities, hearing from loved ones and family members, as well as the sculptor Troy Kelly, and being filled in on other details. I thought Brian Vanacek just did a marvelous job as the MC. I assure you, everyone was singing at the end, God Bless America, but since he was directly in front of the microphone, we were hearing him loud and clear.
Voice. That's good. And of course, we have many more stories coming up for you in our 5, 6, and 10 p.m. newscast on this day that we remember those who were killed 10 years ago at the first Fort Hood shooting.
Yes, we'll hear a lot more from the families. We hope that you'll join us for our 5 and 6 p.m. news, and then come on back at 10 o'clock as well. So we're going to get to work on this. We appreciate you looking in this afternoon. We hope you have a good afternoon. Dr. Oz is coming up next, and we'll join that programming here in a moment.
See you at 5.
And what he has to say will make you rethink this whole case. Take a look.